The entire house feels gloomy because someone stays in bed all day, unable to care for herself. It's frustrating to watch her sleep away the hours, and I can't help but wonder how long this will continue. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law often criticize me, saying, "Drew, it doesn't matter if Tom is married or not. Your presence doesn't change anything since you don't contribute." My father-in-law echoes their sentiments, saying, "I'm Jane Brown, 32 years old, and I've been married for 5 years. My father passed away due to illness when I was in high school, and my mother followed not long after I got married. I have loved drawing since I was young and aspired to become a picture book artist. After finishing high school, I attended design school and began working as an illustrator at a small design firm. My husband worked for an advertising agency, and we met when he approached me to illustrate a character for a campaign. After 2 years of dating, we decided to get married. My sister-in-law also lived with my in-laws, and after we got married, we moved in with them. I transitioned to freelancing as an illustrator and started working from home with their support. I aimed to be a supportive wife and dedicated myself to housework, which wasn't difficult since my mother-in-law didn't care for it and left the tasks up to me. She gave me the freedom to manage the home as I saw fit. My sister-in-law, on the other hand, showed little interest in household chores. She often went out for drinks and dinners with her friends and colleagues, so we rarely shared meals. Yet we coexisted peacefully. However, 3 years ago, my life took a dramatic turn when I fell down a flight of stairs at a train station and suffered serious injuries. The accident left me with a spinal injury resulting in paralysis of my lower body. Initially, the shock was overwhelming, but as time has gone by, I've adapted to this new reality. My in-laws were attentive and supportive when the injury first occurred, but they likely didn't anticipate that I would never regain the ability to walk. As 3 years passed, significant changes occurred. My sister-in-law married and moved up 2 years ago, perhaps to the relief of my in-laws, who might have hoped for more peace. Yet, since then, their patience with my presence seems to have worn thin. I find myself nearly confined to bed now. Understanding the strain it would put on my parents, I knew relying solely on them wasn't feasible. The layout of my in-laws' old house doesn't accommodate a wheelchair, leaving me confined to my bed, unable to move without it. Thankfully, I had been working from home prior to the accident, a blessing as my upper body remains unaffected, allowing me to continue working. My care is now managed by a helper and a housekeeper who assist me daily, while if I lived alone, a helper could handle cleaning and laundry with family around. This isn't feasible. Though a helper can offer physical assistance, my husband's work commitments prevent him from providing the care I need. Despite my own good spirits, neither my mother-in-law nor my father-in-law, who recently retired, are able to provide the level of care required. According to guidelines, home helpers aren't expected to assist if healthy family members are present and not working, covering tasks like cleaning, laundry, and shopping. Initially, my in-laws would pitch in while taking care of their own chores, but over time, they stopped helping altogether. I understand that my mother-in-law, who has always disliked housework, found it bothersome to take on my tasks. My husband was attentive at first, but now he barely speaks to me. He dismisses my needs, saying, "There's nothing to help with. I have my own job to focus on, and caregiving isn't a man's responsibility." Though my in-laws' lack of support doesn't automatically permit the helpers to assist me according to regulations, one helper, concerned about my situation, introduced me to our housekeeper. My in-laws voiced their disapproval of hiring a housekeeper, calling it wasteful and extravagant. However, I have personal needs that must be met. If they don't handle my laundry, I won't have clean clothes to wear. "Are you trying to take advantage of me?" my mother-in-law asks. I respond, "Not at all, but given my condition, I need your help." At that, my in-laws looked at me as though I were a burden. My mother-in-law added, "We can't afford to spend money on a housekeeper." I assured her, "I'll handle the cost." I was grateful that I had continued working. With my financial independence, I arranged for a housekeeper to come to the house. Her name was Susie, a 52-year-old woman whose husband had passed away years ago, and she had no children. Susie's demeanor reminded me of my late mother, kind-hearted and gentle. She took excellent care of me, and I felt a sense of comfort with her presence. Now, the only people I can talk to are Susie and the helper, not my family. When Susie arrived, my in-laws quickly tried to take advantage of her. "You should handle our laundry and cleaning as well," they demanded. "No," Susie replied firmly. "You're the housekeeper. It's part of your job, they insisted. Doing your chores will require additional payment. Are you willing to cover the extra cost? She countered. How dare you? You're an insolent housekeeper, they exclaimed. Despite the argument that followed, I felt a sense of relief knowing Susie stood her ground. After about a year of this arrangement, my sister-in-law returned home, recently divorced. My husband cheated on me, she said, seeking refuge in the midst of her troubles. He was an idiot. He must have been easily led astray by some woman, my sister-in-law added. He was always such a nag. My brother-in-law held a stable job at a large company and had always seemed like a trustworthy businessman. His actions didn't match the profile of someone who would betray his wife. I found the situation odd, but I chose to stay quiet to avoid causing conflict. Mia echoed my in-laws' demands for Susie's help, but Susie stood her ground and firmly refused. Susie wasn't fond of my in-laws, as they had never said a kind word to me. I declined their request. Susie stated, Why are you here taking care of Jane? They claimed you were a useless housekeeper just like Jane. It must be because she's not paying you enough, they continued. After all, it's just a side job for her. Jane can't even take care of herself, so I have to rely on the housekeeper for help, they said. Mia and Kelly, you both can manage on your own right, so there's no need for extra help. My in-laws' sarcastic comments intensified once Mia returned home. A bedridden wife is just a burden. Now that Mia's back, you make our house feel crowded. We only need Mia here. You're doing well financially, spending your time in bed drawing your little sketches. Even while I was working, my sister-in-law would go out of her way to enter my room and make cutting remarks. Frustrated with the constant sarcasm, I brought it up with my husband. Please ask your mother and Mia to be more mindful of their language. It hurts me, even if there's some truth to it, my husband replied. What do you mean some truth? All you do is lie in bed and can't handle the housework, I said. I'm not just lying in bed. I'm working. You're working from bed. It's not the same as having to commute to an office like me, he countered. I understand that, but I'm still trying my best to be productive, I responded. My family isn't pleased with you because you can't manage the house. They see you as unhelpful, he said. Do you really think so? Just try not to take things so personally. You'll struggle to survive if you let every little thing get to you. My husband showed little support or empathy. Though I understand the limitations of my body, his lack of concern for my well-being is disheartening. I long to walk and move as I once did, and I wish my husband could show some compassion and recognize how painful and difficult this is for me. Is it unreasonable to hope for some understanding? Despite trying to hold back my tears, they still fall. This accident changed my body, but I strive to stay hopeful and give my best. I refuse to lose hope. I remind myself that many others endure greater suffering. It's hard not having my parents around for support, but I take comfort in knowing they don't have to witness my struggles. Still, the realization that there's no one left in this house who stands by me. I feel increasingly despondent. I have no home to return to, and I wondered if there was a way I could leave this house with my husband. While I was mulling over my options, he blindsided me with his next words. For a fleeting moment, I thought he might be thinking about me, but his follow-up plunged me into despair. I agree with what they said, he remarked. What are you talking about? I asked, confused. Ultimately, they'd be better off if I had a younger, healthier wife. What? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I want to have an heir, but with you, I just can't see it happening. It's impossible. It felt like a heavy blow to my head. The fact that my husband would speak to me like this made me realize I couldn't rely on him anymore. Though he continued to talk, I couldn't process anything beyond his desire to divorce me because he deemed me useless like a piece of trash. You might be paying for a housekeeper, but with your limited income, you'll have nothing left after settling that bill. You're just a burden on us. A leech clinging to our home, aren't you? Even helpers come with a cost. Leeches who spend money on helpers, get out. After enduring such hurtful words from both my husband and in-laws, I felt there was no reason to remain here any longer. I thought to myself, I have no home to return to. I must find a new place to live. All right, I'll move out. I enlisted Susie's help in finding a new place to live. She gladly assisted me, and thanks to online procedures, the process was remarkably convenient. Once all the paperwork was sorted, I presented Tom with the divorce papers. Good, you finally made your decision. But don't blame me. Blame yourself for having such a body, he remarked callously. Very well. Are you certain you're okay with me leaving? I asked. Of course it's fine. I'll find someone more suitable for me. Everyone says I'll find a better wife. Will you be able to support yourself? He inquired. Don't worry about me, I assured him. We still have retirement funds, and Mia received ample compensation for that affair. Money won't be an issue for a while. So I won't have to rely on you anymore, he stated coldly. Sure, then do as you please, Tom replied indifferently. I couldn't help but feel that Tom was oblivious to reality. Without another word, I moved out, and despite the challenges, there were some silver linings. Living alone meant my helper could assist me with daily tasks like cleaning, laundry, and shopping, for which I was truly grateful. Additionally, I continued to rely on Susie's support as before. Interestingly, Susie was once a dedicated businesswoman at a major company before she married. Despite her digital savvy and competitive spirit, she grew weary of the corporate world and left it behind when she got married 20 years ago. She chuckled as she recounted her past. But I couldn't help but wonder if her resilience came from her experiences. Now she's more than just my housekeeper. She's managing my affairs and does so happily, seeing it as a way to lend a helping hand. Moreover, the new apartment I moved into is fully accessible for wheelchairs, allowing me greater independence. The spacious kitchen even enables me to cook for myself. Just as I was starting to settle into my new life, my ex-mother-in-law began calling me frequently. However, there was nothing left to discuss, so I chose to ignore the calls. Susie's excellent support and my ability to concentrate on my work without the ongoing drama led to significant growth in my business. I simply didn't have the time to engage with my ex-mother-in-law. A year went by. Mia still reaches out occasionally, though less frequently than before. My life had stabilized, and I decided it was time to resolve any lingering matters, so I picked up the phone. Hello. Finally, you picked up. I've been worried because you never answered the phone. Mia spoke to me in an uncharacteristically sweet voice. This was unlike her demeanor when I lived with them. I suspected she might be facing some trouble and had heard about my success. I appreciate your concern, but I'm doing well and thriving on my own. There's no need to worry about me. Oh, that's good to hear. So do you still want to come back and live with us as you did before? Excuse me? You can't possibly want a parasite and piece of garbage like me to return. I've been reflecting on our past decisions. It wasn't right to leave you, someone with a physical disability, on your own. We'll provide the support you need so you won't have to worry anymore. Actually, I'm thriving on my own. My helper manages my daily tasks, including cleaning, laundry, and shopping. Susie now assists me with my work as well. I really have no concerns. I heard you are earning more than Tom now. Is that true? Yes, that's accurate. At the time of our divorce, it seems he overlooked my growing income. I recall him mentioning you earn close to $15,000 monthly. My income initially covered their living expenses after the accident when Tom's company faced challenges and his salary was reduced. My earnings kept rising, so I offered financial support. He started with apologies, and we kept his salary cut from his parents to avoid causing them worry. However, after 3 years, he seemed to forget that I was the primary contributor to our household expenses. I considered setting aside his own income for the divorce, but I didn't bring it up. I also learned that Mia's divorce was not due to her husband cheating. It was actually her fault. He contacted me directly. He also revealed that Mia stole money from him. Mia claimed she received it as alimony, but he intends to retrieve the exact amount she took and charge her for compensation. I chose to proceed with my divorce before my in-laws could discover the truth. When I confronted Kelly about it, she was visibly shocked. Tom developed feelings for a hostess at a bar and ended up accumulating some debt. Oh, so that's why he wanted the divorce. He hoped to siphon off your income. He can forget about that. Besides, their connection was purely transactional. He was just a customer. I know, were you aware? Yes, I knew everything. Why didn't you tell me? Were you also aware that Tom's company was struggling? Yes. How could you keep this from me when you knew all along? According to Kelly, Mia ran off with her unfaithful boyfriend, but he abandoned her and left her with even more debts. Tom's company declared bankruptcy 6 months ago, and he's been job hunting since then. However, he can't find a position he deems suitable, leaving him unemployed. He's lost all self-esteem and has become a recluse. The children now living with us depleted Dad's retirement savings and were now burdened with substantial debt. Is that so? So, if you come back, everything will be okay. I don't understand how they can say that everything will be okay after how they pushed me out of their lives. The audacity to think I would return. I wondered how so much could change in a year, much faster than I expected. Tom likely never imagined his company would actually go bankrupt, but his lack of foresight led to this outcome. Kelly tearfully confessed that if she had known what would happen, she would have prevented our divorce. But now it's far too late for that. All she seems to care about is money and herself. Mia, meanwhile, has no motivation to work and has become a couch potato, gaining weight in the process. Well, Tom sold the house to pay off the kids' debts. The property was old and not valuable, and the cost of clearing the land was deducted from the sale. The location was also undesirable, so they didn't receive much money for it. Now the 4 adults are crammed into a small one-room apartment, struggling to make ends meet. Kelly sobbed on the phone, saying they were forced to work long hours at part-time jobs and were completely worn out. This is all your fault for not answering my calls. If I had reached you before we sold the house. What exactly are you trying to say? If you had known we were selling the house, you would have assisted us, right? After all, you lived there too, so you must have some sentimental attachment to it, correct? Absolutely not. What? I couldn't believe how self-centered she was. I was relieved I didn't answer the phone. Even if I had, I wouldn't have gone along with such a selfish request. So both Tom and Mia are depending on you, along with Mother and Kelly. Please come back. You're the only one we can rely on. Sorry, but I'm not your family. Don't depend on me. Don't say that. We're sorry for everything. I apologize. I can't believe she's saying this. I felt a headache coming on. It was time to give them an ultimatum and bring this to an end. The reason I picked up your call today is because I have something important to tell you. What is it? I'm planning to sue all of you. What? Why should we be held responsible? Tom didn't cheat on you, and he wasn't involved with the hostess bar girl. It's not about infidelity. It's about the mental anguish caused by the verbal abuse I endured from all of you. What? I informed her that I had recorded and documented all the abusive language they had directed at me. When I mentioned the evidence I possessed, she became visibly agitated and abruptly ended the call. Perhaps she realized that continuing the conversation could lead to greater consequences. It was interesting to observe her reaction. When my lawyer issued a formal request for compensation, Kelly carefully tried to negotiate a settlement, citing their current hardships. However, I stood my ground and refused to accept any offer that did not hold them accountable. I was asked to create an illustration, which brought me a step closer to realizing my dream of becoming a picture book author. Despite all the challenges I've faced, I remain committed to approaching life with a positive attitude and not taking myself too seriously.